I found the receipt in our junk drawer. Dinner for two at the restaurant where we celebrated our anniversary. Except I wasn't there. My wife was with someone else. When she finally said, "I want to live for myself without you," I had one answer. Not in my house, and not on my dime. What came next destroyed everything she thought she could keep. My name is Arthur Phillips. I'm 42 years old, and I run a small IT company that develops medical software. My wife, Nina, 37, works as an HR manager at a tech firm. We have two kids, Olivia, 14, and Ethan, 11. On paper, we look perfect. Nice house in Portland suburbs, 2 cars, college funds growing. The American dream. It was a Tuesday when everything changed. I was cleaning out the kitchen junk drawer, batteries, expired coupons, stuff you forget exists. Buried at the bottom was a receipt from the Riverside Grill. That place was special to us. We'd celebrated our 10th anniversary there. This receipt was 3 weeks old. 2 cocktails, calamari, steak, vegetarian pasta. $147 with tip. I stood there staring at it, my brain doing math I didn't want it to do. 3 weeks ago, Nina said she was having dinner with her college friend Jennifer. She came home at 10:30, kissed my cheek, said Jennifer sent regards. But Nina doesn't eat vegetarian pasta. Never has. And Jennifer? She's been sober 6 years. Nina reminded me of that every time her name came up. My hand started shaking. I took a photo of the receipt and put it back exactly where I found it. Then I went to my office and stared at that photo for an hour, trying to find an innocent explanation. That night at dinner, I watched Nina. Really watched her. She moved through the kitchen serving spaghetti, asking Olivia about homework, reminding Ethan to use his napkin. But when I asked about her day, she answered without meeting my eyes. And when Ethan spilled water and she grabbed paper towels, her phone lit up on the counter. The message preview disappeared fast, but I caught the contact name. Just a letter. See, after the kids went to bed, Nina headed upstairs early. I stayed in the living room pretending to watch baseball. Around 11, I heard the shower. 20 minutes later, she was asleep or pretending to be. The next morning, I called in sick for the first time in 3 years. After Nina left and the kids caught the bus, I went back to that drawer, pulled everything out, spread it across the counter. That's when I found the second receipt. Same restaurant. 5 weeks earlier. 2 cocktails. 2 entrees. $132. My wife was lying to me. The question wasn't if anymore. The question was how long, how deep, and what I was going to do about it. I didn't wait long. By Friday, I had enough. 2 more receipts from different restaurants. All on nights Nina claimed to be working late or meeting friends. I hired a private investigator. Cost me $1,500 I didn't care about anymore. He confirmed what I already knew. Nina and Cole Turner met every Wednesday at a hotel near the airport. Sometimes Fridays too. Cole Turner, product manager at a competing tech firm. 34 years old. Married with 1 kid. The PI sent me photos. Nina walking into the hotel lobby. Cole following 3 minutes later. Them leaving together 2 hours after. Her hair messier than when she went in. I chose Sunday morning for the confrontation. The kids were at Nina's parents' house for the weekend. Something about helping her dad with yard work. Perfect timing I didn't plan, but would use. Nina was in the kitchen making coffee when I walked in and dropped the folder on the counter. Photos spilled out. She looked down, and her face went white. "Arthur, I can explain." "Don't." My voice came out colder than I expected. "I don't want explanations. I want honesty for once." She picked up one of the photos, her hand shaking. "How long have you known?" "Does it matter?" I asked. "How long have you been sleeping with him?" Nina set the photo down and crossed her arms. For a moment, I thought she'd break down, cry, beg. But instead, she lifted her chin and said, 6 months. And honestly, Arthur, I don't regret it. That hit harder than expected. Not the affair, I'd already processed that. But the lack of remorse, the defiance. She continued, her voice gaining strength. "You're always working, always in that office. When was the last time you actually saw me? Really saw me?" "I was building something for us," I said. "For this family." "No." Nina shook her head. "You were building something for you. I've been invisible for years, Arthur. Cole makes me feel alive again." I laughed. Actually laughed. It wasn't funny, but the absurdity of it, blaming me for her cheating, was too much. "So what now?" I asked. "You want a divorce?" You want to run off with Cole and blow up 2 families. Nina's expression shifted. Not guilt. Calculation. She said, I want to live for myself, Arthur. Without you. I deserve that much. Those words hung in the air. Live for myself. Without you. Like our 16 years together meant nothing. Like our kids. Our home. Our life was just some cage she needed to escape. I stepped closer, looked her dead in the eye, and said, Then go ahead, Nina. Live for yourself. But not in my house and not on my dime. Her eyes widened. What's that supposed to mean? It means everything you see here. I gestured around the kitchen. I paid for it. The mortgage, the cars, the vacations, Olivia's braces, Ethan's robotics camp. All of it. You want freedom? You've got it. But you're not taking my money with you. Nina's face twisted with anger. You can't just kick me out. This is my house too. Check the deed, I said calmly. It's in my name. Wedding gift from my parents, remember? You signed a prenup. You get nothing unless I'm feeling generous. And right now, Nina, I'm not feeling generous at all. She stared at me like I'd slapped her. Then she grabbed her phone and stormed toward the stairs. We'll see what my lawyer says about that. I called after her. Make sure you tell him about Cole and the hotels. I've got documentation for everything. She stopped mid-step but didn't turn around. After a moment, she continued up the stairs. I heard the bedroom door slam. I stood there in the kitchen, surrounded by photos of my wife's betrayal, and felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just cold, clear certainty about what came next. Monday morning, I was in my lawyer's office by 8. Richard Hensley had handled my business contracts for years, and when I called him Saturday night, he cleared his schedule. Smart guy, mid-50s, divorced himself. He understood what was coming. Prenup is solid, Richard said, reviewing the documents. House is yours. Business is yours. She gets minimal support, maybe 3 years max, and that's only if the judge is generous. I nodded. What about the kids? That's trickier. She'll fight for custody. But if you can prove she's been unstable, bringing the affair partner around the children, anything like that, you've got a shot at primary custody. I thought about Olivia. My daughter hadn't been herself lately. Withdrawn, grades slipping, spending more time in her room. I blamed it on teenage stuff. Now I wondered if she knew something. Richard continued. I need you to document everything. Bank statements, credit card bills, phone records if you can get them. Anything showing she was using marital funds for the affair. Already done. I handed him a flash drive. Hotel charges on our joint card. Restaurants. Even found charges for lingerie from a boutique downtown. All during the time she was seeing Cole. Richard plugged the drive into his laptop and whistled low. This is good, Arthur. Really good. She was stupid. Or she thought I'd never check. Most don't. Richard said. You're ahead of the game here. I left his office and drove straight to the bank. My business accounts were separate, but we had a joint checking and savings. I moved 70% of the joint accounts into a new personal account. Left her enough to cover her car payment and phone bill for a month. Petty? Maybe. But I wasn't funding her affair anymore. By noon, I was meeting with Ted Carlson, my financial advisor. Ted had managed my investments since I started the company. Divorce. Ted asked when I laid it out. Affair. I corrected. 6 months. I've got proof. Ted leaned back in his chair. All right. Let's protect what you've built. First thing, that college fund for the kids. We need to make sure it's designated specifically for education. Can't be touched in a divorce settlement. Done. Second, your business. If it's an LLC with you as sole owner, she can't touch the assets. But any increase in value during the marriage might be considered marital property. We need to get an evaluation done now, establish current worth. I took notes as Ted walked me through the next steps. Separate accounts, freeze joint credit cards, document every asset. It felt clinical. Cold. But that's what this was now, a business transaction. When I got home that evening, Nina's car was gone. The house was quiet. I checked upstairs. Her closet was half empty. She'd taken clothes, toiletries, some jewelry, left her wedding ring on the dresser. My phone buzzed. Text from Nina, staying at my sister's. We'll talk when I'm ready. I didn't respond. Let her think she had control. Meanwhile, I was 3 steps ahead. The kids came home from their grandparents' Tuesday afternoon. Ethan burst through the door, talking about the treehouse his grandfather was building. Olivia was quieter, headphones in, barely acknowledging me. I made dinner, Chicken and rice, nothing fancy. Ethan ate like he hadn't seen food in days, telling me about every detail of the weekend. Olivia pushed food around her plate. You okay, sweetheart? I asked her. She shrugged. Yeah, fine. After Ethan went to play video games, I started cleaning up. Olivia stayed at the table, staring at her phone. Mom's not coming home, is she? Olivia said suddenly. I stopped loading the dishwasher, turned to look at her. She was still staring at her phone, but her hands were shaking. Not right now, I said carefully. She's staying at Aunt Linda's. Olivia finally looked up, and her eyes were red. I knew this would happen. What do you mean? She set her phone down. I saw her dad. Last year. With some guy. They were in his car outside the coffee shop on Miller Street. I was walking home from Sarah's house. My chest tightened. Why didn't you tell me? Tears spilled down her cheeks. Because I thought maybe it was nothing. Maybe I was wrong. And then Mom said, she said if I ever told you, it would destroy our family. She said you'd leave, and it would be my fault. I moved around the table and knelt beside her chair. Olivia, look at me. She did, wiping her face with her sleeve. None of this is your fault, I said firmly. Not one bit. Your mom made choices. Bad choices. But that has nothing to do with you. But I could have stopped it, she sobbed. If I just told you. No. I pulled her into a hug, and she collapsed against me. You're 14. This isn't your responsibility. It's mine. And I'm handling it now. She cried for a long time. When she finally pulled back, she said, Are you getting divorced? Probably. Can I stay with you? The question hit me hard. Of course. Always. She nodded, wiped her eyes again. Good. Because I don't want to live with her. Later that night, after both kids were in bed, I sat in my office staring at nothing. Nina had manipulated our daughter into silence. Used her to cover up the affair. That wasn't just betrayal. That was abuse. I called Richard. I need you to add something to the filing. I told him. Olivia knew about the affair. Nina told her not to tell me. Said it would be her fault if the family broke up. I want that documented. Richard was quiet for a moment. That's really bad, Arthur. Judge won't like that. Good, I said. Because neither do I. The divorce papers were filed Thursday. Nina would be served at work Friday morning. I knew she'd explode, but I wasn't prepared for how dirty she'd play. Friday afternoon, I was in a meeting with a hospital client when 2 police officers showed up at my office. My assistant Sarah knocked on the conference room door, her face pale. Mr. Phillips, there are officers here who need to speak with you. My client looked concerned. I excused myself and walked out to the lobby. 2 uniformed cops, male and female, both looking serious. Arthur Phillips? The male officer asked. That's me. What's this about? We need you to come down to the station. Your wife filed a report claiming you threatened her and became physically aggressive during an argument. My stomach dropped. That's not true. I never touched her. The female officer said, Sir, we still need you to come with us. It's protocol. Am I under arrest? Not at this time. But we need your statement. I grabbed my phone and wallet, told Sarah to reschedule everything, and followed them out. The ride to the station was humiliating. Clients saw me leaving with cops. Word was spread fast. At the station, they put me in an interview room. Cold, gray, single table and 3 chairs. I called Richard immediately. Don't say anything until I get there, he said. Not one word. 20 minutes later, Richard arrived. The detectives came in, different cops, detectives this time. They laid out Nina's claims. I'd allegedly grabbed her arm during an argument Sunday, pushed her against the kitchen counter, threatened to make sure she never saw the kids again. All lies. Richard let them finish, then said, My client has documentation of his whereabouts Sunday. Security footage from his office building shows him working until 9 p.m. His daughter was with him. Multiple witnesses. I added, I have text messages from Nina that day, sent while she was at her sister's. Timestamps prove we weren't even in the same location. The detective reviewing the file frowned. You have proof. Tons of it. Richard pulled out his laptop, including evidence that Mrs. Phillips has been having an affair for 6 months, misusing marital funds, and manipulating their teenage daughter to cover it up. This report is retaliation for divorce papers served this morning. The detectives exchanged glances. The female detective said, We'll need copies of everything. Richard handed over a flash drive. It's all there. Bank statements, hotel receipts, witness testimony from the daughter. Mr. Phillips has been documenting everything through his attorney in preparation for divorce proceedings. After 2 more hours of questions and paperwork, they let me go. No charges filed. But the damage was done. My business reputation took a hit. Clients were asking questions. When I got home that night, Olivia was waiting up. She'd heard about the police from a friend whose dad worked at the station. "Did Mom really say you hurt her?" she asked, her voice small. I sat down beside her on the couch. "Yes, but I didn't. I would never." "I know." She leaned against me. "I told the detective that too when they called. I said you were with me Sunday, that Mom wasn't even home." Pride and heartbreak hit me simultaneously. My 14-year-old daughter was being dragged into this mess, forced to choose sides, made to testify against her own mother. "Thank you for telling the truth," I said quietly. "Mom's really messed up, isn't she?" Olivia asked. I didn't know how to answer that, so I just held her and said nothing. Monday morning, I got an email from my bank. Unusual activity on one of my accounts. I called immediately, spoke with my account manager, and discovered something that made my blood run cold. Someone had taken out a loan in my name. $85,000. Approved 3 weeks ago. The money was transferred to an account I'd never seen before. How is this possible? I asked the account manager, a woman named Patricia who'd handled my business banking for years. I never applied for a loan. The application came through online, Patricia explained. With your social security number, date of birth, signature scanned from previous documents. It looked legitimate. It's fraud. My wife must have done this. Patricia was quiet for a moment. "Mr. Phillips, I need to be honest. When this loan was approved, I thought it was odd. You have excellent credit, no debt, significant assets. You didn't need this kind of loan, but everything checked out on paper. I felt sick. Where did the money go?" "An account at First National, under the name Cole Turner." There it was. Nina had stolen $85,000 from me and given it to her lover, probably for his business, some startup idea he'd been pitching. I'd seen mentions of it in their text messages. Cole wanted to launch his own consulting firm, but needed capital. "Can we reverse this?" I asked. "Not immediately. You'll need to file a police report for identity theft. Then we can start the investigation process. It could take months to recover the funds." I hung up and called Richard. Told him everything. "This just keeps getting worse," Richard said. "But actually this helps us. Financial fraud, identity theft, these are serious crimes. She could face jail time." "I don't want her in jail," I said, surprising myself. "I just want my money back and custody of my kids." "You might not have a choice," Richard replied. "The bank will report this. Prosecutors might get involved whether you press charges or not." That afternoon, I drove to the police station and filed a report. Same detectives who'd interviewed me Friday about Nina's false accusations. They looked less skeptical this time. "Your wife is either incredibly stupid or incredibly desperate," the male detective said. "Forging loan documents leaves a paper trail a mile wide." "Probably both," I muttered. They took my statement, copies of the bank emails, everything. So they'd be in touch. When I got home, there was a car in my driveway I didn't recognize. Expensive sedan, dark blue. Nina's father stepped out as I parked. Robert Hamilton was 65, retired investment banker, used to getting his way. He'd never particularly liked me. Thought Nina married beneath her station. "Arthur." He nodded curtly. "We need to talk." I got on my truck. "About what?" "About this divorce. And about you dragging my daughter through the mud." I laughed. Couldn't help it. Dragging her through the mud? "Robert, she's been cheating on me for 6 months. She stole $85,000. She filed a false police report. I'm not the one doing the dragging." His face reddened. "My daughter made mistakes, but you're destroying her life, her reputation, her relationship with her children." "No," I said firmly. "She did that herself. I'm just making sure she doesn't destroy mine in the process." Robert stepped closer. "I'm prepared to offer you $200,000. Cash. You sign a confidentiality agreement, grant Nina full custody, and we all move on quietly." I stared at him. "You're trying to buy me off?" "I'm trying to protect my family. Your daughter committed fraud, identity theft. She manipulated our child to cover up an affair. And you want me to pretend none of it happened for 200 grand. $250, Robert said. "Final offer." "Get off my property," I said quietly, "before I call those same cops who took my statement an hour ago." Robert's jaw clenched. He got back in his car and drove away without another word. I stood there in the driveway, shaking with anger, and realized this was only going to get uglier before it got better. I didn't plan to tell Hannah Turner about her husband's affair, but when my PI sent me a file with her contact information and daily routine, something shifted in me. She deserved to know, just like I deserved to know. Hannah worked as a dental hygienist at a practice in Beaverton. I showed up during her lunch break, waited in the parking lot until I saw her come out. She was younger than I expected, maybe 30, blonde, wearing scrubs with cartoon teeth on them. I approached her as she was unlocking her car. Hannah Turner? She turned, keys in hand, immediately cautious. Yes. Do I know you? No. My name is Arthur Phillips. I'm married to Nina Phillips. I think you need to know that your husband Cole has been having an affair with my wife for the past 6 months. Her face went pale. What? I handed her a manila envelope. It's all in there. Text messages, hotel receipts, photos. I'm not doing this to hurt you. I'm doing it because you deserve the truth. Hannah stared at the envelope like it might explode. This is some kind of joke. I wish it was. I pulled out my phone, showed her a photo the PI had taken. Cole and Nina leaving a hotel together, his arm around her waist. That was taken 2 weeks ago. Hannah's hands started shaking. She dropped her keys. I picked them up and handed them back. Why are you telling me this? She asked, her voice breaking. Because I know what it's like to be lied to, I said. And because Cole helped steal $85,000 from me. That's a loan your husband has that he probably didn't tell you about. Her eyes widened. $85,000? We don't have that kind of money. You do now. My wife forged loan documents in my name and transferred it to Cole's account. It's all documented. Police are investigating. Hannah sat down on the curb, still holding the envelope. I gave her a moment, then crouched down beside her. I'm sorry, I said. I know this is horrible, but you need to protect yourself. Get a lawyer. Check your finances. And maybe get tested. I did. That last part made her look at me. Tested. For everything. Just to be safe. She opened the envelope with shaking hands, pulled out the first few pages. Text messages between Nina and Cole. I watched her read them, saw the moment each word hit. Tears started falling. We've been married 8 years, Hannah whispered. We have a daughter, Emma. She's 5. I'm sorry, I said again. Kids make this harder. She wiped her face with her sleeve. Does everyone know? Is this all over town? Not yet, but it will be soon. Court proceedings are public. Hannah stood up, still clutching the envelope. Thank you for telling me. I think. One more thing, I said. Cole's probably going to lie. Blame you, blame me, blame circumstances. Don't believe him. He made a choice. They both did. She nodded slowly, got in her car. I watched her drive away and felt no satisfaction. Just tired sympathy for another person whose life just got destroyed. That evening, Cole called me. His voice was shaking with rage. You had no right to tell Hannah, he said. That's my marriage. My family. And Nina was mine. I replied calmly. You didn't seem to care about that when you were sleeping with her. This is different. It's exactly the same. You wanted honesty? Now you've got it. Hannah left. Took our daughter to her parents. She won't answer my calls. Good for her. You destroyed my life, Cole said, his voice breaking. No, I said. You did that yourself. I just made sure everyone knew about it. He hung up. I deleted his number and blocked it. Done with him. Done with all of it. The preliminary custody hearing was set for 3 weeks after I filed. Judge Harrison presided. Older woman, 60-something. Reputation for being fair but tough. Nina showed up with her lawyer, a slick guy named David Park who specialized in high-conflict divorces. Richard and I sat at our table with documentation stacked in folders. Olivia was in the hallway with a victim advocate, ready to testify if needed. Judge Harrison reviewed the filings, then looked at both of us over her glasses. This is preliminary, so we're establishing temporary custody while divorce proceedings continue. Mr. Park, your client, is requesting primary physical custody of both children. Mr. Hensley, your client wants the same. Let's start with Mrs. Phillips. Nina took the stand. She looked put together, conservative dress, minimal makeup, hair pulled back. Her lawyer walked her through the narrative they prepared. She was a devoted mother. She worked hard to provide for her kids. The marriage had broken down due to Arthur's workaholism and emotional distance. Mrs. Phillips, David Park said, can you describe your relationship with your children? I'm very close with both of them, Nina said, her voice steady. Olivia and I talk every day. I help Ethan with his homework. I'm involved in their lives. And has Mr. Phillips tried to turn the children against you? Yes, Nina said, and I saw where this was going. He's told them things about me that aren't true. Made me out to be a bad person. Olivia barely speaks to me anymore. Richard stood. Objection. Speculative and false. Judge Harrison nodded. Sustained. Stick to facts, Mr. Park. When it was our turn, Richard presented the evidence methodically. The affair documented with receipts and messages. The forged loan. The false police report. The manipulation of Olivia to stay silent about the affair. Then he called Olivia to the stand. My daughter walked in wearing jeans and a sweater, looking smaller than her 14 years. The judge spoke to her gently. Olivia, I know this is hard. I just need you to answer some questions honestly. Can you do that? Olivia nodded. Yes, Your Honor. Richard asked. Olivia, when did you first learn about your mother's affair? About a year ago, Olivia said quietly. I saw her with a man who wasn't my dad. She was getting into his car. Did you tell your father? No. Why not? Olivia's voice got quieter. Because Mom said if I told Dad, it would break up our family. She said it would be my fault. The courtroom went silent. Nina's face was red. Judge Harrison leaned forward. Your mother told you that? The judge asked. Yes, ma'am. And how did that make you feel? Olivia's eyes filled with tears. Scared. Like I had to protect everyone. But I couldn't. Richard continued. Olivia, if you had a choice, where would you want to live? With my dad, she said immediately. I don't want to live with my mom anymore. Why not? Because she lies. And she made me lie. And I don't trust her. Nina's lawyer tried to discredit Olivia's testimony, suggesting I coached her. But Olivia held firm, answered every question with painful honesty. By the end, even David Park looked uncomfortable. Judge Harrison called a recess, then returned with her ruling. Based on the evidence presented, I'm granting temporary primary custody to Mr. Phillips. Mrs. Phillips will have supervised visitation every other weekend until the final hearing. The false police report and financial fraud are serious concerns. Mrs. Phillips, I suggest you think very carefully about your actions going forward. Nina stood up, her chair scraping. This is ridiculous. He's turning my own daughter against me. Mrs. Phillips, Judge Harrison said sharply. You manipulated a 14-year-old child to cover up your affair. You filed a false police report. You committed financial fraud. The only person who turned your daughter against you is you. Court is adjourned. Richard and I walked out together. Olivia was waiting in the hallway, and I pulled her into a hug. You were so brave. I told her. I just told the truth, she said. I know, and I'm proud of you. We went home that evening, all three of us. Ethan had been at a friend's house during the hearing, and when I explained what happened, he just nodded quietly. He was taking everything hard, withdrawing into video games and books. That night, I stood in the doorway of each kid's room, watching them sleep. Everything was broken, but at least we were together. At least they were safe. The final divorce hearing was scheduled for 8 months after I'd first filed. 8 months of legal battles, financial audits, and watching my kids process their mother's betrayal. Olivia had started therapy and was doing better. Ethan was still quiet, still withdrawn, but slowly opening up. 3 weeks before the hearing, Nina made one last desperate play. I got a call from Richard on a Tuesday morning. His voice was tense. Arthur, Nina's lawyer, just filed an emergency motion. She's claiming you've been coaching the children against her and requesting an immediate custody reevaluation. Based on what evidence? I asked. None that I can see. It's desperation. But we have to respond. The emergency hearing was set for Friday. I showed up with Richard, documentation ready. Nina sat across from us looking thinner, harder. Cole was nowhere to be seen. They'd broken up 2 months earlier when his divorce got finalized, and he realized he couldn't afford Nina's lifestyle. Judge Harrison reviewed Nina's motion with obvious skepticism. Mrs. Phillips, you're claiming parental alienation. What's your basis? Nina's lawyer stood. Your Honor, the children refused to see my client during supervised visits. They've stated they don't want a relationship with their mother. This suggests coaching by Mr. Phillips. Richard countered immediately. The children don't want to see Mrs. Phillips because she lied to them, manipulated them, and destroyed their family through her own actions. That's not alienation. That's consequence. The judge called Olivia to testify again. My daughter, now 15, walked in looking more confident than 8 months ago. Olivia, Judge Harrison said, has your father told you not to see your mother? No, ma'am, Olivia said clearly. Dad sets my choice. He even offered to drive me to visits if I wanted to go. Why don't you want to go? Olivia took a breath. Because Mom hasn't apologized. Not once. She still acts like she didn't do anything wrong. She texts me saying Dad turned me against her, but she did that herself. The judge nodded slowly. Thank you, Olivia. After Olivia left, Judge Harrison looked at Nina. Mrs. Phillips, I'm denying your emergency motion. The children are old enough to make informed decisions about their relationships. If you want to repair things with them, I suggest starting with accountability. Nina's face crumpled, but she said nothing. The following weeks were quiet. Nina stopped fighting. Her lawyer contacted Richard about settlement terms, and we hammered out an agreement. She'd get minimal spousal support for 3 years, no custody beyond supervised visitation if the kids agreed, and she'd repay the $85,000 through a payment plan. The fraud charges were dropped in exchange for full restitution and community service. The DA said it wasn't worth prosecuting given the circumstances. 9 months after everything fell apart, life started feeling normal again. Different but normal. Olivia made honor roll that semester. She joined the debate team and discovered she was good at it. All that practice, standing up in court, prepared her well. Ethan finally started talking more, opened up to his therapist about feeling guilty for not knowing about the affair earlier. I told him the same thing I told Olivia. None of this was his fault. I sold the Portland house. Too many bad memories. Too many rooms that echoed with arguments. We moved to a smaller place in Lake Oswego. Fresh start for all of us. The new house had a yard that backed up to a creek, and Ethan spent hours out there skipping rocks and watching birds. My business recovered. Lost a few clients during the divorce drama, but gained more through word of mouth. Apparently, people respected how I'd handled everything, with dignity instead of destruction. One Saturday morning in late spring, Olivia came downstairs and asked, Dad, would it be okay if I called Mom? I looked up from my coffee. Of course. You don't need my permission. I know, but I wanted you to know I'm not doing it because I forgive her. I'm doing it because my therapist said I need closure. Then do what you need to do, I said. She nodded and went back upstairs. An hour later, she came down looking lighter somehow. How'd it go? I asked. She cried a lot. Said she was sorry. I told her I wasn't ready to have her in my life yet, but maybe someday. Olivia sat down next to me. She asked about you. What did you tell her? That you're doing better than she is. I smiled. Fair assessment. That afternoon, the 3 of us drove to the coast. It was one of those perfect Oregon days, sun breaking through clouds, wind coming off the ocean, salt smell in the air. We walked on the beach, threw driftwood for a dog that wasn't ours but followed us anyway, ate fish and chips from a stand on the pier. Ethan found a sand dollar, perfectly intact. He held it up to the light and said, These are supposed to be lucky, right? That's what they say. I told him. Think we're lucky, Dad. I looked at my kids, both of them here, both of them safe, both of them learning how to be okay again. Yeah, buddy, I think we are. As we drove home that evening, sunset painting the sky orange and pink, I thought about everything that had happened. The betrayal, the lies, the legal battles. All of it hurt. Still hurts sometimes. But we'd survived it. More than survived. We built something new from the wreckage. Nina sent me an email a few weeks later. Short, simple. Thank you for not destroying me completely. I know I deserved worse. I never responded. She was right. She probably did deserve worse. But revenge wouldn't have helped my kids heal. Wouldn't have made me feel better. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is just walk away and build something better. That's what we did. And a year after everything imploded, we were finally living again.